All right, and welcome back to Terra Invicta. I want to talk a little bit about the phase of the game I think we're entering now that it's roughly the late 2020s, at least in a less aggressive playthrough. At the start of the game, we were really trying to fly under the radar, where we never want to fight the Hydra other than the bare minimum and see what we can get away with. Later in the game, we might have to fight the Hydra openly, but we're not there yet. We don't have the technology, we don't have the economy, but we also don't want to just let them get by and not lose ships and build up. We've already noticed the Hydra are massively expanding their fleets. They're up to 56 ships. It wasn't that long ago they had like 20. So we'd like to be frustrating their efforts, but do it in a way that doesn't cause us to get smacked in the process. Part of that is increasing our hate cap, which we're doing with the second hate reduction tech, Muskerovka, which is researching right now. But the other is by embracing this concept I flagged last episode of defensive attrition. What we want to do is constantly be riding the absolute limit, I think, of what we can get away with. Where our MC is maybe even slightly over 50 hate cap most of the time, and we'll occasionally prod if it's very, very high value to do so. But we also want our stuff to be sufficiently defended, whether that's our fleet or our bases with their defense arrays, so that when the aliens attack, a lot of the times they lose ships. Because if we destroy them in defense, they don't gain any additional hate. And if they do break through and destroy some stuff, we pretty quickly get below the limit and they ease off. That's the idea. We want them to be satisfied every time they manage to land a punch, but for a lot of time, that not to work and for us to end up breaking their arm. To that end, I've started fortifying a lot of my bases. Starting with point defense arrays, we'll upgrade these to layered defense arrays, but the number one thing these things are going to need is better weapons. Surface defense, I don't really respect defense arrays around stations as much, but ones on the surface have historically been very powerful. Not sure how they are now, but they're probably useless at this point because they're using the absolute most basic bitch laser it is possible to use, the infrared laser cannon. We're going to need much, much better in order to make these things dangerous to the aliens. So, to that end, I've come up with a new scheme for how we're going to be splitting up our research. I have enough output now, 5.8k per month, which is not amazing, but it's decent. We're slowly getting these bonuses up towards 100+% where I want them to be. What I really need is some orgs with military bonuses, but those are hard to find. And we're going to take over all 3 tech slots, and mentally, we're going to split it into 3 categories. At any given time, one is going to be working towards tier 3 habs in the space economy because we're Exodus and we need to build big bases with lots of hospitals and hotels and residential modules on them all over the solar system, starting with Mars and Mercury, but eventually we're going to want to go out further. And to do that, we need the tier 3 infrastructure, which we're working towards. Because the idea is, for our house rules, we want to experiment with large numbers of people in space, so we have the experience. Things don't catch us off guard later when we get into the business of putting people on a colony ship, which is, I think, what we're going to want to do. We're also going to build that deep space telescope. Another slot is always going to be for weapons technology, specifically lasers, and then more lasers until we have really good lasers. So our defense stations on planets actually have something useful to shoot at. They automatically upgrade based on the tech you have. So see here you are. Surface defenses will employ visible spectrum lasers on visible combat lasers. So we're going to work in that direction. The third is a floater. It might be like this, cybernetics, which is going to boost our counselors. It might be even more weapons. It might be drives. It might be armor. You get the idea. The third slot is going to be the floater, but 1 infrastructure, 1 weapons, 1 floater. Down the bottom, it's going to be a mixture of 1 xenotech at all times, probably an economic technology, and then maybe a weapon, with the economic technology occasionally swapping out for drives, because I've only tested about 10 engines at this point, so I've started knocking off some of the useless extra ones, because we're going to need to test more. There's 100 drives in the game. I need to plan to test the next 10, get myself up to 20, give them some practical experience. So that's one side of
We'll be ready for new
one
orders
side
soon.
of attrition is defending our stuff better. While not, the other side is making sure that the aliens suffer without necessarily us doing it. And the way we're going to do that is by exploiting the proxy warfare approach we flagged last time. We find alien operatives or servant counselors. We feed that information to Humanity First and the Resistance, just as an FYI, and then act really surprised when bad things happen to the people or the beings that we don't like. So that's the broad plan. Mercury stations are going up. They're probably going to be targets for retaliation. They're not defensible until we get better defenses, but they're so cheap that they'll produce some resources, maybe draw some retribution. but eventually we'll fortify Mercury once we have the technology to do it. I think that's a good enough introduction. Let's go find some alien operatives and see what we can do. Okay, we now have the tech for layered defense arrays, which means we'll have large rather than small surface orbit infrared laser cannons, which are still useless. LDAs cost 10 cash upkeep a month, and cash is a problem, so I'm working on plans in that direction. But 1 or 2 of these per bases, or 1 of these plus 1 point defense array, will mean at least light alien harassment might result in casualties or damaged ships. That's the plan. If we can put good lasers on them, which we are working towards, it's just visible combat lasers going to take a while. Also working towards Maskirovka, which will add even more to the amount of MC we can build without going over the hate cap. At the moment, I'm comfortable being slightly over the hate cap at any given time, as long as I'm not so much over that when I get punched in the face, the aliens don't drop below the cap and feel better about themselves. The other thing, and I didn't notice it, so I don't know where it happened, but I think our plan worked, because I've been spotting aliens. Humanity First is also now on Research Hydra Biology. Previously, they were on Find Alien Corpse, or Kill an Alien, I think, is the Humanity First objective, which means they must have hit one. So plan must be working. I'm not sure which xenoform they got, but they hit one of them. So I'm not sure what the track is. It's at least 2. Our proxy war assassination strategy has bagged at least 2 Hydra. I'm not sure if it's more than that, but for the moment, at least 2. This is one of the great advantages of Exodus. I actually am convinced so far, early game, that Exodus might be one of the stronger factions for 2 reasons. The first is that org, which gives you all that bonus boost, is fantastic. I might do a genuinely Africa-only playthrough, and I'm kind of sad because I won't be able to use Exodus because I've already played them, but they would be my go because that boost is just huge, especially if you get it early. The other is most factions don't hate you. Like we're able to get intelligence sharing with 3 factions, non-aggression with number 4, and I've been able to keep myself relatively peaceful with the Protectorate and Servants to the point where on Earth, no one other than the Hydra is attacking me. And that is a huge time saver. If nothing else, that's a huge time saver. My agents can spend their time boosting my economy and being proactive, not countering other factions. So the downside is we're not slowing the Servants and Protectorate down. But on the other hand, we sort of outsourced that job to the Resistance and Humanity First to help that process along. It's always important to have spies in the Protectorate and Servant camp so that intelligence passes along. One of them just disappeared, so I'm converting another servant over. But at the same time, I will smile and nod and say, hey, Mr. Banerjee, how you going? I just took a point from him, so he's a little annoyed. What's something harmless that I can give you that you will be happy with but actually achieves nothing? There you are. Have Information Science Research Center. I'll take some of your boost in return. I'll maybe go through his HABs. Not HABs. Orgs. No, you're not going to use for org. All right, there you are. And he's now friendly with me again.
You kidding, right?
There's Arrival Mass Communications. I'll give some thought about what that's going to be. But the real highlight is in just a minute. We should have Deep Space Telescope. There's our servant spy. We'll turn their failure odds down to 0%. New counselor, so maybe there was a previous casualty. That might be why the previous one stopped reporting. Oh man, you know what that means? Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Okay, so because turn resolution order in Terra Invicta is highest skill counselor first, Araxis has 21 persuasion. So she convinced this servant to spy for us, and then presumably a lower, yep, there we are, a lower persuasion resistance counselor came over and said, how about you spy for me? And I have a feeling she might be about to be shot. Yep. Okay, so what just happened in order there? Oh, new Navy launches, that's a waste for China. Okay, so what happened there is the servants hired someone new. We convinced them to be a snitch for us. Then the resistance turned up and convinced them to be a snitch for them instead, but we kept getting the intelligence because the resistance tells us everything that they hear and vice versa. And then Humanity First came along and shot the spy. So that was the short, interesting career of a servant counselor in 2028. Let's research Deep Space Telescope.
Our technology
and cybernetics. The only thing with cybernetics is I don't have the money to make a huge amount of it, which is a problem. And Anyway, I'll do the tech here in a moment, but cybernetics cost cash to upgrade your counselors, which makes them great, but makes it all the more important that I solve this cash problem. I promise I have a plan. We'll talk through it when it comes through. But yeah, I'm going to need more money if I'm going to make the best possible use of cybernetics. And there we go, Deep Space Telescopes. This is a Tier 2 module. Only costs 3 cash, really cheap support, gives us a small amount of science and 10% space. And it's okay, it's a Tier 2 research module, basically. We'll research something else, and I presume there's a story associated with it. Let's book in alien computers. Okay, here we have part of the money solution. One reason I'm more negative than you expect despite this is nanofactories, which are Tier 2 construction modules, produce cash if they're idle. Because so many of my bases are upgrading, they're not currently idle, they're building modules, which means they spilled up the construction, but you don't get money for the duration. So this will jump up again. The other issue is I think the aliens, there's an alien agent in Kazakhstan, which makes a lot of money. They flipped a point to the Protectorate, which I'm taking back. So hopefully this will come back to even relatively soon. What I've started building are these medical centers on the moon. And I'll also build some at a station in low Earth orbit. They give a little bit of research and they cost a lot of volatiles and water to uptick, but that's what farms are for because most of it is from the 120 crew component. But the key is not the research, it's that they produce 60 cash per module. So there'll be three at this base here, which will make this base net positive. I'm going to build another lunar base and an LEO installation, both of which are dedicated to these medical centers. I want to mix medical and tourism later on because that was in our house rules. But for the moment, this is a good use of boost. And first humans arrive on Mercury, 500 research and 100 influence, which we will almost immediately turn into money. And yes, as you can see, we're purging back that point in Kazakhstan. Humanity First is trying to poach it as well, but Shira, with her incredible skill, will get there first. And the Resistance, me, and Humanity First are all in a bit of a fight over converting servant counselors. It really is quite funny. It's like we're all trying to convert the same spies because we can see the same stuff, and the easy targets appear to be easy targets for everyone. So, bingo, alien in China, Xenoform Alpha 10. Guess where Shira's going after she takes this point? Recon this alien and see who wants to take a shot first. Here's an example of the kind of trade that I think works for us. Burner drive, which is probably the best engine we currently have. It's a high-end gas core drive, or at least relatively high-end for this time of the game. If we give this to the Academy, they might be able to build more useful ships. That works for us. At the same time, we get 56 free boost and a Tier 3 research organization with a 15% energy research bonus for our trouble. I think that is just swell. Then we'll just need to sell off an extra organization. Who are we going to sell? Probably this one. Not necessary at this point. Looks like I need to level Shira again. Let's just quickly throw one level investigation on there just as a quick level.
Offering support.
Now we have a couple of retaliation fleets from the aliens heading towards Earth and Mars, and I think also Mercury. Mercury is the only one that isn't going to be defended at all. But for this idea of trying to fight them off where possible, we've moved up one ship category. These are not engine testers. They haven't been renamed yet either. But this is the basic concept we're going to go with. This is the Preparation Block 2 class monitor. The configuration here is slightly different to the old one in the sense that it's still old armor. I'm going to get nanotube, which will be better. But for the moment, 18 forward armor, one side, one rear, 3 Artemis torpedo bays, but critically a Mark II targeting computer, so jamming should be less frequent, and then some point defense in the form of one 40mm autocannon installation. Add a magazine in the usual mobile science lab because, above all else, research matters, not just the combat capability of the ships. And I'm hoping that these things should be good to go. They're using burner drives and gas core fission 3s, which means that they have 7.8 millig's of cruise acceleration, about 0.2 of a g of combat acceleration, and their DV is about 8.7. If I can switch out the armor plating, that DV will increase even more, which means I can potentially cut some propellant, which I'd be happy to do. So once I get an idea of which station the aliens are going to go after, I'll send this force to garrison that station before they arrive, hopefully, and then try and fight a defensive action in which I do as much damage as possible, preferably losing as few ships as possible, unless it looks like a battle I can't win at all, in which case I'll just let them have the station. That's going to be the go for the next year or two at least. And here we go. All right, begin the search. This means our deep space telescope, which I built around Mars, should be complete. Insights gained from our alien research have provided small but crucial improvements to our deep space viewing technology. Our new ASEA telescope represents an improvement of at least an order of magnitude. That's not a small, okay, all right, small improvements, order of magnitude. Upon our best pre-first contact space viewing arrays, our astronomers are practically fighting over who gets to use it. Needless to say, they, along with the rest of our personnel, will greatly appreciate it if you continue to protect the ASEA's HAB. Can't we build more than one? We have the tools, I think we can build more than one. We have the tools we need to narrow down a stellar candidate for colonization. Unfortunately, the one-star system that we have conclusively established as containing a life-bearing planet with an oxygen-breathable atmosphere, the Hydra homeworld, is the one place we absolutely must avoid. Let's try and find another habitable planet, one with no Hydras on it. Research a new home project when it becomes available. We need to have done Hydra interrogation, which we have done. So here is our fancy new deep space telescope. Okay, we have a fight. 2 escorts, 3 monitors, and Terra station up against a cruiser, a destroyer, and a gunship. The gunship is weak. It's just 1 laser cannon, easy fodder. 1 point defense laser turret. Oh, this is good. I think this is an auto-resolve win. I think that there's so many torpedoes on this side, plus the extra PD. I don't think they have enough lasers. Hold on. Yeah, wrecked. Absolutely wrecked. Sorry, as soon as I saw their weapon set, I was like, that's not going to end well for them. And if you're wondering, hey, why would the aliens do that? Remember, at the time these ships were sent to Earth, these monitors did not exist. So that weapon set makes sense, but not once you add 9 additional torpedo tubes with targeting computer Mark IIs. So absolutely wrecked. Another officer promoted. And I don't think we get any hate for that. We just accepted their engagement. It's their fault they got wrecked. They walked into my fist. And, you know, if I sound like a bit of a smartass, I am now paying for it. Because while Earth might have some defenses, Mercury doesn't. These are level 1 stations with point defense arrays that are still using infrared lasers because we are still a month or so. Early December, we'll get visible combat lasers. Then we need arc lasers. So there is still a lot of work to do on our surface-to-orbit defenses. And 1 alien ship, this Cosmic Ray class cruiser, with an enhanced mag cannon, mag battery, and then 2 sets of point defenses, has come along to Mercury, and I think it is about to, at 119, even with Maskarovka, I am over. I think it's about to kick our Mercury infrastructure in the teeth repeatedly. So Mars is fortifying. Mercury is being absolutely wrecked. I'll rebuild this, that's fine. And I think, yes, if I'm correct, that Invicta 68 is taking absolutely 0 damage in return because those infrared lasers, they will not be scratching the bloody paint. Bugger. So if we want a happy view, we can come back to Earth and see that we have Canada, all 3 control points now secured. We're running Unity and Mission Control. We'll finish that last Mission Control point and also just shore up our support, throw those servant supporters out there. Very important to do. And we'll also add it to a federation with the United States in order to bring them closer to unification because I do not have the management cap to control both as distinct entities. So we're going to have to merge them if we're going to regain the initiative and keep expanding on Earth. That's the happy view. The less happy view is this little picture over here on Mercury as our bases continue to get wrecked. This one is in the process of getting wrecked. I am sorry to the 5 crew in that outpost core who are about to get wrecked. And what we're going to do is, as they're destroyed, we're going to wait for the aliens to stop shooting. And the moment I'm not getting sequential bombardment orders, that's when we're going to do the rebuild. Up to a point, we don't want to go back over the cap through mission control usage, but we also don't want human factions claiming these Mercury points. I am building a station that will have a nanofactory in orbit of Mercury, fallback station, which would speed up construction compared to sending them from Earth. But I'm actually willing to take the slow build method for now just to stop these being claimed by some very expansion-hungry human factions that are out there. They're friends, but I don't want them to have my Mercury real estate, basically. And global warming has reached 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels. It's now expected that heat waves will continue getting worse. Stream storms and flooding are more likely. Coral reefs around the world are predicted to decline by 70 to 90%. We can do nothing. We can spend 610 for a significant public opinion boost, or we can say we're leaving anyway and getting a small public opinion boost for free. I'm going to take this one because public opinion is actually influence income, as you can see. So I actually think that was worth the cash investment. Man, the resistance, it'll take a while for another alien ship to get out here. I'll need to check how damaged the alien ship is after bashing into that resistance station. But that was really fortunate for stopping the bombardment chain on Mercury. We will federate the United States with Canada, creating the United States of North America Federation. The cooldown on that will be, what will it be? Not entirely clear to me. There we are, May 2029. Okay, less than halfway through 2029, we should be able to pull the unification trigger. So we just need to hold together the cohesion of the whole thing until then. We can do that. All right, we'll slap on arc lasers. So visible combat lasers will finish in December. Then we'll do arc lasers. We'll play around with the priorities. Augmented learning is a knowledge boost. I'm just punching that out quickly while we're not doing any other computing because we've got a nice 100% chunky bonus. Europe Ascendant, exotic materials for the story mission. But once these two finish, visible and arc, our ability to shoot things using lasers will be completely different from what it currently is. Both of these are upgrades and they compound together. This will let us go from infrared to green, and arc will let us go from laser to arc laser, both of which are very much for the better. There's another nice perk about having the intelligence sharing agreements that we do, which is we have massive awareness. We can automatically see all the servants because they're compromised, all Humanity First, Academy, Exodus, Resistance, because we have agreements, or they're us, which means the only things we can't see are going to be Protectorate, Initiative, or Aliens. So if my goal right now is to compromise a Protectorate Counselor, it's probably decent odds if I shoot for one of the few unidentified agents on the map, because by process of elimination, so many are already ruled out. I really, really like the new intelligence sharing mechanics. They make this sort of stuff much more viable. You couldn't do much in the way of diplomacy before, and there's probably still a way for the diplomacy to go, but this is a huge improvement from last time I played. There we go, finally. Right after that fight, visible combat lasers.
Yet, instead of leasing it to others and reaping the rewards, all he could think to do was shed endless blood and sweat in the pointless pursuit of an empire.
There's Soren condemning Genghis Khan for not being enough of a private military contractor. Wonderful. Okay, green laser batteries, green laser cannon. That's what we're going to want, along with the arc upgrades. Fantastic. We have some choices now. We're going for... We could go ultraviolet combat lasers, but we're not going to be using those on our ships, I don't think. And they're not super urgent. The reason is I think ultraviolets all cost exotics, and we have a very limited supply of those. What I'm considering doing instead, because it might be funny, is going advanced missile warfare doctrine and upgrading our missiles. Because there is some fun stuff we could potentially do here. I mean, there's some decent rolls, 85%, 76%. If we really push this, the reason I'm thinking this is, one, I normally go coils and lasers, and we like to make things different. The second is, I believe if we have to go all drives, that includes the fission pulse drives. And if I read the tech tree correctly, there is a series of nuclear torpedoes that require nuclear pulse propulsion. So I would normally never go near them. So in a normal playthrough, I wouldn't touch this stuff. But here I might. Now we need to get through a bunch of propulsion techs in order to make it happen. But we can realize an immediate benefit. We could grab It's almost like we want like electromagnetic propulsion. I'll have to check how to get that again. So it's almost like we want electromagnetic propulsion. So what we kind of want to grab is electromagnetic propulsion, I think, but that temporarily slow arc lasers, but it's so cheap. So we'll grab EMAG propulsion, put us on the way. Then we'll grab advanced missile warfare doctrine. Like that'll be finished in like a week. So we force that out because it's slowing down arc lasers as long as we're researching. Grab that, grab advanced missile warfare doctrine, and start working our way towards nuclear missiles and nuclear torpedoes, while also getting some of the drives we're going to need to test, which is the funny Project Orion-style pulse propulsion, which is where you propel a vessel by putting a giant plate behind it, dropping a nuke behind your ship, and then detonating it. Fantastic. So that should be fun. Let's go in that direction, I think. Oh, and if you're wondering why I would do EMAG first, it's because this way I can put green laser batteries, which is a military tech, down here without slowing the bonus up here. Just a small optimization. And we'll do something like this. Lots of prioritization on punting out the battery as quickly as possible, because otherwise this bonus will you get in the way of this bonus. We'll also get exotic materials in just a second. Oof. All right, so I've just zoomed over to have a look. It looks like the Resistance just came head-to-head with Victor 87, which was a force of, I think, 4 alien ships. And it just whacked down the 7, it was 4 or 5, I'm not sure how many. Looks like they smacked down the Resistance fleet of 7. It's dead, Jim. And since the Resistance lost, I don't believe they get their no, they don't get their alien technology. However, they splashed at least 1 alien vessel. They appear to have damaged a bunch of the rest. They're probably about to lose Potemkin Station, which is looks like it's half built, which is fine. And then the hate reduction should reduce. Oh man, they're going to lose all these nanofactories. Well, that sucks for them. But they did some damage. They drew some alien attention. Their hate will now go down. The AO follows the same hate mechanics the player does, I believe. So the aliens should ease up on the Resistance, and then hopefully they rebuild their vessels, and the aliens and Resistance go at it again. Not a huge amount of attrition, but something. 1 or 2 lost ships, I'm not sure exactly how many, and damage to 2 others. Not sure if they're still combat capable or not. But not bad. Bad they lost all 7, but they weren't our ships. Good old Toby is being inspired by our corporate feel-good media, thanks to Araxis, who was like, hey, chill it with the thievery, but here's some PowerPoints. So he's back to loving Exodus, I reckon, at this point. And there's exotic materials. After exhaustive analysis and stress tests, we have little idea what this material truly is. We do know what it is not. Does the missile know where it is? Because it knows where it's not. Despite previously believing these so-called exotics were some manner of hitherto unknown alloy, we've determined that it can also exist in a non-solid state, such as within the coolant of an alien warship's heat sinks. It would appear that rather being a construction material itself, it will instead improve and augment the durability and electrical conductivity of any other substance it is applied to. We've been able to separate significant quantities of them from the alien materials that they are bonded to, attempt implementation of the material in many of our own technologies, and happily it readily adapts to almost any process it is subjected to. So, it's very versatile. We have 11.8 exotics in stockpile from the combination of shooting things down and events. And I believe that completes an objective.
Is clear,
it does.
Director. We must salvage as much of this exotic material as possible for Project Exodus to go forward.
Thank you, Alashka. Okay, so we need to get more exotics. Can do. Although that might require more aggression. I need to shoot aliens in order to get it. The alien exotics are found in varying amounts throughout every piece of alien technology. The potential applications are quite literally limitless. He's just saying all the things we can do that are better. Best of all, we can do this without any corresponding trade-offs. Instead of having to choose between properties such as low mass, high strength, and high heat resistance, we can build designs with high marks in all 3. So long as we have sufficient supply of exotics, virtually anything is possible. We don't have a sufficient supply, unless I go out and start shooting aliens for it. Our hopes have been fulfilled. The alien exotics are the key to advanced spaceflight and ultimately interstellar travel. Unfortunately, there is one great flaw in our plans. Despite all of our efforts, producing exotics remains far beyond our capabilities. For the foreseeable future, we will have only what we can scavenge or steal from the aliens. Research exotic hybrid systems. And we can also research that. Okay, well, exotic hybrid systems is going to take ages. I don't think it's going to deliver us much benefit, so we'll just put it on 1 pip priority, use this 141%, 136% bonus combo, and it should be done by January 2030. We'll just let it sort of spin along. It's that or New Home, but I'm not sure New Home is particularly helpful compared to, actual technology. So we'll set that one to go while we try and punt out these laser batteries. Okay, engagement. Alien fleet, Victor 105 against 2 monitors around Leo 2 shipyard. Accept the engagement. Echo 46, which was being refitted, won't be there in time, so we're going with 2 Block 2 monitors, which are not the upgraded versions. But... oh, and the shipyard, shipyard does not have defenses, because the assumption was the fleet will always be there. Well, the fleet is kind of there. A bunch of ships are in refit at the moment, because we have nanotube armor, which I'm refitting a bunch of ships with, but that means we're temporarily down. So the aliens have picked the perfect time, where some of these monitors have gone into the repair yards. I do distribute my shipyards so you don't rely on one station at any given time, but still, this is problematic. The goal here is pretty much the same. Do at least damage to both, destroy the gunship, just do at least damage to the frigate. Let's look at the disposition here. Yeah, what's going to happen is the torpedoes that go towards one are also going to go towards the other at this sort of rate. We want to do at least enough damage that the auto-resolve then looks at our 40mm and says, hey, we can handle what's left. So torpedoes away, targeting computers doing their work. Advanced Missile Doctrine will upgrade these, which is good. Wolf with the plasma, of course. Never fun. But hopefully this means they should both be dealing with torpedoes at the same time. Okay, gunship destroyed. Yeah, that frigate's wrecked. It's dead in the water. Let's go intercept course. One of our vessels looks like it's not going to be able to do well, but that's okay. I'm guessing at this point that if we hit the auto-resolve, it should give me the kills, because we can still maneuver. The aliens want to draw, which means they know they're screwed. And I have a 40mm left. So technically, I still have firepower on the field that can kill this thing. No, we'll just hit this. Bang. 0.13 exotics, defensive battle, Valley Mist, Spectral, Dusk, Scratch. We can't repair those ships immediately, unfortunately, though, because the shipyards are presently occupied. Upgrading to the 4A. The 4A is the same offensive setup, Artemis 40mm, but we switch over to the new nanotube armor. What this does is it significantly reduces weight, which means I can cut back on propellant, still have more than 11 DV available, and take the front armor up to 30. The weakness here is the radiator. Because we don't have a heat sink, we can't pull the radiators in. But if we're mostly defending stations, all I really care about is the strength of this forward armor. And 30 is a significant improvement. The cost per ship is also less than 200 volatiles, 200 metals per, and the water cost has come down, so not bad. We'll also have to build some versions with all the shitty engines I'm starting to research in the next test batch, but for the moment, these are holding the line. Like that. Here I am, I've researched like 4 or 5 drives in a row, and yeah, our servant counselor has stopped reporting because Humanity First decided to shoot her in the face. That's okay, spies are replaceable. We'll convince someone else that working for us is absolutely fantastic for their lifespan next turn. Oh, here's a nifty event. Hedda Sauer died today at the age of 131, setting a new record in human longevity. Her long life was attributed both to recent advances in medical techniques and to the geriatric care she received at LB2 Athena. Fantastic. Great, small public opinion boost. Question, though, it's 2029. The game started in 2022. And Miss Sauer here apparently died at 131. were there living humans in their 120s in 2022? Okay, a quick Google tells me that 122 is the oldest human currently on record. So Miss Sauer must have been hiding at game start, her age. Otherwise, she would have been the record holder. But there we are. I'm guessing this event is meant to fire later in the game. We're just ahead of the curve when it comes to our space infrastructure. Small public opinion boost. What's the influence? Love it. We have spotted what I think might be the last Hydra on the planet, and of course it is in Europe.
We'll see what
So
they're up
Shira will go in, identify the target. Again, having visibility over just about all the councillors on the map makes it really obvious when you have a high defense councillor right next to an alien site that you haven't identified. So Shira's going to go in. Toby can investigate the actual abduction location. And Elaine's been going around the world destroying xenoflora, but I have a feeling once we get green arc lasers, I want to try orbital bombardment instead, because lasers should be relatively precise. So if we can put a big bombardment ship in orbit instead, that might save us a couple of moves with Elaine. Anyway, we'll reduce unrest in the European Union, which is looking fantastic, by the way. We're actually close to the maximum level of ecological sustainability, which is fantastic at our current tech level. So the European Union isn't producing much way in the greenhouse gases. Diversity level is fine. So cohesion is perfect for a research perspective. Democracy value is full democracy. Education level is massive. Inequality is low. So education output is going great. Meanwhile, what I'm doing in Canada before it gets swallowed into the United States is basically shuffling in fact, we don't even need the Unity anymore, 100% funding. Just pump as much funding as we can, get this money up. What this means is we're doing 17.3 funding points a month. Each funding point, so we're increasing our monthly income by like 15, 16, something like that per month. And we've now gone positive thanks to our nanofactories coming back online, our funding push, etc. So the money that was burning down for years is now finally inverting. But once we expand to next level infrastructure, once we're ready to break the cap even more, I'm ready for a fight, as you can probably tell. Mercury just finished repairing. At that point, that'll go negative again, but that's okay. The main thing I'm interested in is the fact my Nobles income is back to about plus 277. If I could turn back on some Mercury mines, I'd get that above 300. Not incredible, but good to build up a stockpile of these fissiles and these Nobles for later on when we're really going to need them. Similarly, volatile income is low, but at least it's stockpiling. And 16.1 is a decent sort of bedrock to fall on when it comes time for a fleet expansion and base expansion later on. Oh man, unfortunately, I think we've gotten too far ahead and we're a little bit distant from the initiative anyway. Unfortunately, they have terminated our non-aggression pact despite me fairly frequently bribing them. I'll keep bribing them, but I have a feeling they're struggling a little bit compared to the other factions on everything. Space resources, mission control, research. Resistance is at 2.1k research, initiatives at 890. They're just on the struggle bus a bit, and as a result, they don't want to maintain their NAP because the gap is too great. Unfortunate. I'll try and boost them, see if I can get them back within NAP range, but for the moment, our number of avowed friends is down to 3. We'll see if we can get back up to 4, but as long as I can maintain these 3, that's okay. We never had the intelligence sharing with the initiative, so we've only lost the non-aggression. What I'm hoping is that since they're at war with Humanity First and the Servants, in conflict with everyone and tolerance with us and Resistance, we shouldn't be their first priority. That's the hope. Bingo, arc lasers.
Some say fear is conquered by courage, but I say it is conquered by knowledge.
There is some truth to that.
Philosophy of Science lecture series.
All right, arc lasers. New evolution of directed energy weapons. Arc lasers generate more intense beams with greatly improved efficiency. Plasma is contained using magnetic fields with constant flow. Much like the clouds in a thunderstorm, separate the ions within the charge, creating 2 poles. Once the poles have accumulated enough charge, a lightning arc surges through the plasma, releasing an intense burst of energy in the form of light, which the arc laser then weaponizes into a deadly pulse. The true beauty of this technology is the rapid recharge rate of the plasma, creating a combat laser with greater efficiency and range than any previous generation. Surface defenses will now employ arc lasers, which means if we go, let's close that for a moment, we go over to a random surface base, instead of using infrared lasers, we should see, there we are, large surface-to-orbit green arc laser cannon. So we've double upgraded. They've gone from infrared to green and from conventional laser to arc laser. So our bases, our surface bases, should now be much, much more resistant to bombardment, even from relatively long distances. We need to research some ships and some cannons to actually mount them, but you just need the base technology to upgrade surface bases. We'll need to research more to upgrade our ships and our stations, but for the moment, I'm feeling a little bit better about the survivability of all of these planetary facilities. Now I have two things for you in May 2029. The first is another illustration of the proxy war in process. We have a servant councillor revealed, compromised rather, so the resistance can see the servant councillor. So their Grim Reaper, Mr. Lanza here, is about to eliminate one of their new recruits, I believe. We'll just let him cycle. Or I'll do my research. And she's gone. And my research is in place. So there we are, another servant councillor eliminated. If we go over to the servants, they are down one councillor, which should put them over control point cap. They'll now recruit another one. They have 57 influence, so they're not running great on reserve influence. I imagine they're spending a lot of it recruiting new councillors, since Humanity First and the Resistance tend to pay them frequent visits. We tell them we're catching up with our mates over at the servants. We give them an address, a time of likely attendance. We don't show. It's just amazing what happens afterwards. And I've taken to basing my my monitors at Tereshkova Station here, because apparently this is the one the aliens always come to when they arrive. So we have 3 more incoming. A Cosmic Ray class indicator, interdictor, mag cannon, enhanced mag cannon, mag battery, laser turret particle beam, plasma point defense laser, plasma point defense laser. So 2 Valley Snow class frigates. The armor is relatively heavy, even heavier armor on the cruiser. So I think the missile division here is going to be relatively simple. 2 monitors onto the cruiser, 1 monitor each to the frigate, hope that there's damage enough to disable them, and then let the station finish it off. Let's accept. Now, some might judge us for essentially hiding behind a glorified medical facility, but it has a layered defense array, a point defense array. We've just upgraded the thing to green laser batteries, and a level railgun, which will eat up some firepower as well. So we're at what the game considers to be dead stop relative to the station. We'll wait for the 3 ships rather, to approach, and then the strategy is going to be, depending on how they maneuver, probably 2 torpedoes from everyone into one frigate, 2 torpedoes from everyone into the other frigate, hold, and then choose the right time to empty the remaining 5 torpedoes per tube straight into the cruiser. But by the time I do that, I want it to preferably, in my ideal world, be dealing with incoming railgun rounds. So we'll just let them crawl into range. They'll have plasma, and I'm not sure how the armor on layered defense arrays handles plasma, especially since we don't have adamantane. We will eventually. Okay, it looks like the Valley Snow, yeah, they've split up into a little, they're slightly echeloned. Frigates are now going to flank. All right, I'll take that. Let's pick the right moment. Now is not the right moment. It's when his maneuver becomes more... Yep, we got his maneuver. That's right, 2 torpedoes per. Two torpedoes per. Right, okay. All torpedo launchers off. Okay, all torpedo launchers are disabled. Priority target Cosmic Ray. Actually, at this distance, what I'm going to do is priority target River Wind and Padlock, just so they don't end up facing our side armor. Go torpedoes. Beautiful. All right, now, priority target Cosmic Ray, which will rotate you. And then once you rotate, full speed ahead. You can see the railgun is firing from the layered defense array. We would like to get a little bit closer so our 40 mils can start assisting with the mag rounds. But if there's damage to the layered defense array, that's okay. You can see his lasers are firing. That laser engagement is against the railgun rounds that are firing. And those are big slugs of metal. So whereas you can intercept a laser, with the laser you can intercept a missile with a single shot, against those big railgun rounds you need to vaporize the whole thing, and that takes a little more effort. So I think this is about the range we're going to go for. And we're going to keep accelerating. The other thing we can do is, as we approach, the 40 mils are also going to be available to fire. All right, all tubes emptying. More railgun rounds. Beautiful. And then is the 40 millimeter going to... Yes, beautiful. Beautiful. One ship badly damaged, but... Scratch 3, no losses, 1.2 exotics in the bank. Promotion. I'll take it. And the good old Resistance is rebuilding their fleet. What do we got here? Interesting nose laser cannon, 2 torpedo bays, magazine. Still using Dumbo engines, so they don't have burners or anything. Dumbo's on a solid core 5. You know what? It's something. I'm just glad that they're regenerating their fleet. My allies collectively, the 3 of them, Humanity First, Academy, and Resistance, do, I think, numerically have more ships than me, but not ship MC cap and certainly not more combat power. But they're building, and they got a lot of resources to do it. Alien fleet has arrived at Ceres. It's looking pretty bulky, but at the same time, our Ceres bases all have, at minimum, 2 layered defense arrays, now with large surface-to-orbit green arc laser cannons. So let's see how this plays out. The aliens are firing. Speed that up to speed 3. They haven't knocked out either of the 2 layered defense arrays yet. So I'm not seeing signs of damage on them either. Either on the monitor or on the battlecruiser. There are some lasers coming up. There's some damage. Defensive modules are still firing. Fleet is taking damage. All right, inspecting the alien fleet at this point. I think that both main ships, both enemy ships have had their main armaments knocked out. I think they both lost their laser cannons. I think they're taking hits every few passes. I think they're reduced to using their smaller weapons in the bombardment. So I think I've set up I'm getting a 3rd layered defense array building at CB3. But I have a feeling that these stations are going to hold. Also, I'm not showing all of these, but they're happening. The Humanity First and Resistance Councillors are now in a bit of a race to see who can eliminate the more servants. So yeah, nothing to do with me. Oh, and I'm so proud of them. Humanity First. That looks like a defensive battle around one of their asteroids, where they literally built a ship to defend their asteroid mining base. Yeah, they literally built a ship out here to defend their mining base, and it looks like they took down an alien raider. So proud of them, Humanity First. Now, is any of this actually working? Well, it depends on what you mean. The aliens are up to 82 ships. But they'd be up a lot more if we weren't inflicting this sort of defensive attrition, and we're certainly preventing it from getting overwhelming around Earth orbit or anything else. There are some heavier fleets incoming. One is arriving in September 2030, one's arriving in August 2029, so relatively soon. This force. The question is, will this come for us at one of our stations? If so, we should have a reasonable force available to match it. We are, I think, over cap. I haven't done the math recently, but we're not causing any hate, so we should be sitting in the low hate levels just in case it all goes wrong. I have 6 defense monitors in, around Earth at the moment. I think there are 2 more in the pipeline. There are 94 days away. And then a few more around Mars as well to reinforce that, which will put us even more over the limit. But I expect to lose some ships soon because we do have some major alien fleets heading towards some of those locations. Mars, for example, is about a month away from getting a visit from 5 alien warships, hence the temporary surge, so to speak, in Mars's defensive output. I'm also researching residential modules because our house rules call for a number of things, including putting tourist and hospital facilities around the solar system. To do that, you need significant populations on the body. At the moment, there are only 6,000 humans on Mars. We need to get that number up to, I think, 50,000 from memory. The way we're going to do that is residential modules, which I'll introduce once they're unlocked. I've also grabbed applied artificial intelligence in this slot. We'll talk about its value when we get it. The reason I did this is because what I really want to be doing, honestly, is more military or material science tech, but I don't want to cannibalize the efficiencies. So we're going to grab applied artificial intelligence, and then advanced missile warfare doctrine is going to become more military tech, I think, a fleet tech. But once we unlock it, we'll go through that. And as an escalation, looks like we have an alien assault carrier en route. Arrival time, September 2030, just over a year from now. That is an assault carrier. 2 monitors, Dying Galaxy class. We know that ship class. Dying Galaxy class, 2 escorts, little small single main gun ships, and the assault carrier, which will get better intelligence on when it gets closer. This thing is a chonker. Wet mass 57,868 tons. It has 140 propellant tanks. It takes 1.4k water to fuel this thing fully once. And its role is to bring armies to Earth. The decision we're going to have to make is, do we try and counter that army on the ground? In which case we're going to rely on, we should probably tack another navy onto the US. Or are we going to try and shoot down this assault carrier in orbit, get the exotics? The advantage of destroying it on the ground is that there's no hate from fighting a defensive battle against the armies. The advantage of fighting it in orbit, exotics. I'm not sure what's more in the spirit of the rules now that we've been told that we need to get more exotics. I'm not sure how many, but seems like we need them. So I'll leave that to you. Should we try and intercept this thing, or should we try and take care of the armies on the ground? In any case, let's close out 2029, a year of proxy warfare. All right, you know how you wanted to end this episode? One more battle of Terra Station. The one station in my lineup that did not get renamed, that the aliens seem to love going for, to the point where I've stationed my fleet there full time. We still only have 6 monitors to work with, including the Australis, which I'm going to assume is the local flagship. We're up against a cruiser. It's a torpedo cruiser. Valt laser cannon, 3 torpedo bays, point defense. A plasma frigate. A laser corvette, that's annoying. And a pure torpedo escort. There are going to be a lot of torpedoes coming in here. So we will accept. This is going to be about effectively hiding behind the station and really using that point defense capacity. All right, here we go. We are at a drift. We'll speed things up. I'm moving very slowly. I seriously think if the aliens are going to keep going for it, I should put more defenses on the station. The problem is, the reason I haven't upgraded these defenses is I'm worried that if I stop, or if I upgrade them, the aliens will go after something else, and I won't be able to predict what they're going to attack anymore. So let's just let the force roll in. The key here is timing, and also understanding PD potential. The laser frigate is going to be particularly good at defending itself. Sorry, the laser corvette is going to be particularly good at defending itself. The escort, which has no point defense, isn't. So it's going to get a very small torpedo allocation, or even be left until later on, where the railguns and other things can potentially deal with it. But let's let them roll in, and then we'll do a torpedo allocation at the right time. Whew, okay. They're maneuvering, that's fine. And hopefully our point defense is able to cooperate with the station's point defense. They're doing all sorts of wild maneuvers. That's okay. Let's let them break up. I can see that the cruiser has separated off from everything else, and so too is that escort. That's really handy because it means we can do a torpedo spread and not worry about overlapping point defense. I'm thinking of firing one torpedo from everyone against the Dusk Wind. And then potentially firing two empty. That's what we're going to do. Not that one. That one. All right, torpedoes loose. The Laid Defense Array has taken a lot of hits. It is down, but it sucked up a lot of the incoming torpedoes. We've destroyed the escort. Scratch on both the frigates. Bang. You collectively are all dead through the efficient allocation of ordnance. And with that battle won, we'll look at the exotic hybrid tech and then we'll wind it up for the episode, I think. Some among us might behold the remarkable properties of the alien exotics and see only a potent source of weapons and armor. And beyond that ancient human proclivity for conflict. Applying it to prototype drives and reactors have resulted in feats of efficiency. Good.
The marriage of Earth and
Here we
Hydra
are.
technology shows great promise for our project director.
We are pushing forward the boundaries of human science and engineering. Although producing the alien exotics is still beyond our capabilities, we are rapidly advancing in our ability to apply them. Rather than using them to alter a single physical property of the targeted material, we are learning to alloy them in specific ways in order to enhance several properties at once. One of the most promising lines of application is in the field of fusion power. I haven't done any fusion research yet. Previous human attempts to build a genuinely effective fusion reactor have been hampered by the astronomical temperatures involved. We now believe that with the proper application of exotics, we should be able to construct a reactor housing with a vastly higher melting point than anything previously thought possible. This would allow us to design a much larger super reactor, which would be able to sustain a correspondingly larger and more powerful reaction, and thus produce a greatly increased energy output. The other option being our so far theoretical research into matter-antimatter energy generation. I wonder what happens if you do this at the point where you've already done antimatter. Which would be similarly structurally demanding. According to our astrophysicists and propulsion engineers, both types of reactor could, in theory, supply the quantities of energy necessary for the primary propulsion system of our proposed interstellar mothership. Interestingly, we have discovered some methods of applying the alien exotics to ordinary alloys that appear to be slightly but consistently more efficient than the alien designs. Perhaps their access to these fantastic materials has made the aliens complacent. Amazing. And with that, we can lock in a new home, which will be finished in May 2030, continue to exploit that xenology bonus. And there we go. I think that's where we're going to wind it up with a couple of final notes. We kicked off the era, and I think there's maybe one more episode of this same strategy. But what we've basically been doing is trying to wear down the alien fleets through two methods. Our allies, and by getting them to attack us and then defeating them. So far, I'd argue we're being successful in both. We're downing a significant number of ships, and while it's not stopping the alien fleet growth, far from it, what it's doing is controlling it a little bit. This 81 would be much, much higher, and Earth's orbit would be choked with more fleets, and possibly consolidated fleets, if we weren't destroying them as they came in. Notice every time the aliens are sending something better. They've started bringing plasma. They've started bringing new classes. They just brought torpedoes, which successfully destroyed the defense station for the first time. They're learning. They're just not learning fast enough. So we're going to keep going in that route. I can't build much more MC. I'm definitely over my MC cap, hate cap, but that's okay. I'm probably somewhere in the 50s, which means if it all goes wrong, we take one L, we take one defeat, our fleet gets blown up, and then hopefully the aliens calm down. On Earth, North American consolidation, executive control in Turkey, 160 days to then join the We'll need to ally with the Europeans. We'll need to join the European Union. And then we'll need to take these 2 control points off the Servants and Protectorate, respectively, while building up the MC and funding. We're not in a rush to do this, but this is our next source of mission control expansion, as well as just building more in the USNA. Final thing, 2 final things. Comment on technology. If you are playing along at home, understand that I am sandbagging the heck out of my research order. I am throwing away, probably by the end of this, hundreds of thousands of research points to do stuff that is thematic or fun. We're going and testing all drives, and I'll show you them all next episode because we're going to have to build a series of test ships. I'm throwing away a lot on useless drives. I'm going down fission pulse. I'm going down missiles, stuff I wouldn't normally pursue. We're going in a dodgy order, so don't take this as a guide on what to research in what order. We're doing it because it's going to be fun and interesting, especially the combination of this with this if the right research pops. The other big achievement was getting the laser technology necessary for those ground-based defenses to be able to fight off Hydra, as they did at Ceres. It also means that we have a new creation in construction around Earth orbit. This is the GDI-class battlecruiser. In many ways, it is awful. As a combat ship, it is awful, in part because I'm using it as an excuse to test the Vasinier drive, which is basically useless for a vessel this size. It can barely move. It has almost no armor. It has very little range. What it is a giant, technically mobile space gun, because we've slapped a 720 centimeter, so a 7.2 meter aperture green arc laser cannon on the front of the ship, along with some point defense in the form of a green arc laser battery and a 40mm autocannon. And we're going to point that at Earth, and we're going to shoot it at things and see what happens. I just think it'll be interesting. The ship is very, very cheap. It's not going to go into fleet combat. It has basically no armor. Like I said, treat this thing like an orbital laser satellite, hence the GDI name. It's basically an orbital ion cannon. We'll find out next episode if it has the same effect. I hope you're enjoying this defensive approach to playing Terra Invicta. In the next episode, it'll be welcome to the 2030s.